In late March, Christian excusegist Michael Jones from the Inspiring Philosophy channel right here on YouTube created a post which begins, quote, "From an atheist perspective, it makes no sense to actively deconvert Christians," end quote. The irony of that sentence is that Michael's post is as clear an indicator imaginable that Michael has absolutely no understanding of the atheist perspective. I'm not going to do a deep dive into Michael's post. That's already been done, and done incredibly well by one of my favorite YouTubers, James Fodor. I'll put the link to his video in the description. But I do want to talk about my own reasons for doing what I do and continuing to make videos for this channel, which may or may not be about deconverting Christians specifically. And let's deal with that first. When I'm writing one of these videos, I'm not consciously doing so with the intent of deconverting Christians. Would I like to deconvert Christians? It depends on how toxic their beliefs are. It depends on whether they're unhappy as a Christian. It depends on a whole host of factors. But in general, I do believe that Christianity is a crime against humanity. And I'll link to my video explaining my reasons for that at the end of this video. Given that belief, I would obviously like to see a world filled with fewer and fewer Christians, especially when I know that many Christians have truly toxic beliefs which do tremendous damage to our communities, to the other people in their lives, including children, and often to the believers themselves. I also know there are unhappy Christians whose lives would be made so much better by leaving Christianity. What I'm most interested in is giving both believers and non-believers resources to combat bad thinking, bad reasoning, and bad arguments. And it just so happens that my lifelong interest in Western religion has become the focal point for doing that. First as satire with the Mr. Deity Show, then with my other various series. Being a person somewhat obsessed with justice, I also have a desire to help people escape the religious indoctrination and manipulation people experience growing up with a religion put upon them before they had the ability to reason, question, or otherwise resist. If Christianity were a belief people came to in their 20s, having the intellectual resources needed to make it a fair fight, that would be one thing. But most Christians are indoctrinated from birth with ideas they never had any ability to evaluate or challenge. It's really quite cringe. These poor kids are part of a family where they're simply told what to believe. The parents know that they'll be trusted, and the child doesn't even have the ability to question yet. Christians, if you don't think this is so bad, consider that being done to Hindu parents or Muslims. There really is nothing else like this in our world. It's so incredibly manipulative. It takes absolute advantage of a child's trust and utter dependence on their parents, then uses that to corral the child's thinking entirely, often with ideas which teach the child to think less than of those who think otherwise, both in terms of God's favor and in terms of their moral value and chosenness. As if that weren't enough, many of these poor children who have been indoctrinated grow up to be Christian excusegists who will defend things like genocide, slavery, misogyny, homophobia, clapping on 1 and 3. Can you imagine how awful their lives must be? And they're supporting and bringing other people into the misery of that broader lifestyle. It would be unethical for me not to speak out, right? Of course, this is just one atheist perspective. There are many, many more, and we all have different reasons for why we may or may not want to deconvert Christians. Basically, I'd really like the world to be a better place, filled with happier people. And I think Christianity is the exact wrong way to make that happen. History is my witness. If you'd like to help me with that project of making the world a better place by deconverting at least some Christians, like those who write to applaud such efforts, please consider becoming a patron of this channel at patreon.com/Mr. Deity. Or more immediately, leave me a super thanks. I really do need your help to keep this work going. and you'll get big blessings in return. Sure you will. Once again, I'm me. Thanks for watching.